Hello, Matt Davis here with more homework quiz help. This one is from section 6.2. If the random variable z has the standard normal distribution, then find the probability that z is less than negative 0.684 and round your answer to 4 decimal places. So the first thing we're going to do is, in the interest of providing help but not answers, we're going to alter the question a little bit. So we're going to do the probability that z is less than negative 0.931. So very similar question, so the steps should all be the same, just the answer will be different. So we start off by drawing a bell-shaped curve. Just scratch work, so you don't have to worry about how perfect it is. It's the standard normal curve, so if we drop straight down from the peak, that should be 0 in the middle. And then we have negative 3 and 3 as the flattening out points, but you don't even really need to label that. You can keep that in mind, though, so that when you go to position negative 0.931 on the number line, you can think, well, that's somewhere around here, closer to 0 than it is to negative 3. So negative 0.931. And then I'll draw a dashed line there. And they want to the left of that. They're showing us the less than symbol right here. So we want this area right in there. So that's what we're trying to find. So to do that, you need to use the normal CDF function. So if you want to find for a standard normal curve the probability that z is less than negative 0.931, you just need to translate that into the right format for normal CDF. And normal CDF wants the left boundary and the right boundary for your z curve shading. And that shading really goes all the way to the left forever, so it goes to negative infinity. And then our right-hand boundary is negative 0.931. So we just need to enter that into the calculator, and that's going to give us our answer. So let's switch over and see how to do that. So on the calculator, to get to NCDF, you want to go to the distribution function, which is on the key just to the left of clear. It says vars on it for variables, but above it, it says DISTR in orange. So hit the orange second key. That takes me into the distribution menu. We see normal CDF, which is when I write NCDF, that's short for normal CDF. And our left boundary is negative infinity, so we don't really have an automatic infinity key on the calculator. So I'm going to hit the negative, then I'm going to hit this green alpha key, and then I've stored infinity or something kind of like infinity into the variable I. So I'll type I, and then the comma, and then my right boundary, negative 0.931, and then I can press enter and get my answer. So negative wouldn't make sense for area. 0.1759 followed by a 2, so we'll stick with that 9. So 0.1759. All right, so that is going to be the area to the left of negative 0.931, so that will also be the probability. So that's what we would enter into our answer box in active learning. And that's basically it, but we do want to think about where could things go wrong. So there's definitely a few things that I can think about. Sometimes people will mix up the order on their infinity. So they'll get these two guys switched, and they'll put the infinity on the right instead of the left. And because we're going all the way to the left, that's negative infinity out there. And you have to put the left side first, the right side second, otherwise you'll get a negative answer. So that's one thing. Another thing I think people do sometimes is forget the negative. If you put a positive infinity there, then you would actually be finding this area on the other side. And it would actually come out negative because you'd have your left and right switch. So that's going to cause some problems too. And then other things are when you do put the negative, make sure you're using the negative key rather than the subtraction key. Those can be issues. And then the final one is making sure that you actually have something like infinity stored in the variable I. Otherwise, if you have nothing stored there, it's going to be a 0, and you'll end up finding this bit of area in between negative 0.931 and 0. And again, you'd have the number switch, so it would give you a negative answer. So let's look at the calculator real quick and see how do we make sure that we have negative infinity stored for I. So switching back to the calculator and taking a quick look at that. First of all, you can just hit alpha, I, and enter, and it'll show you what's stored there. So I have 1E99, which means a 1 followed by 99 zeros. So while that's not infinity, it is a super large number. So it's going to work well as infinity for our normal curves. So if you don't have that there, you'll often see a 0. So if you want to fix it, you type 1 times 10, 1 times 10, raised to the 99. You can press enter, and you'll see that 1E99. But now go to the left of the 1 key and see the one that says STO with an arrow. That's store. So if you press that, it's going to take that answer and store it into whatever variable you want. So you can pick I, and then press enter, and it'll be stored there. So let me show you that process again. I'm going to take 0 and store it into alpha I. So now when I press alpha I and enter, I get the wrong answer there. I get a 0. So then to fix it, 1 times 10 raised to the 99. And I can just directly store that into alpha I and press enter. And now I'll have more of an infinity there. So this idea of using I for infinity only works if you've stored it. So this is the method for getting that store done. All right, so back over here. Very straightforward process. Just make sure that you're always doing the right format, and the right format is left boundary here and right boundary here. And pay attention when you have like no boundary on one side. Is it the left side or the right side, to sort out if it's negative infinity or positive infinity, and make sure you don't switch your left and right. And if you ever get a negative answer, that's often an indication you've switched left and right, or your infinity doesn't have the right value stored in it. All right, I hope that helps you out. Good luck as you return back to the quiz.